Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? It's your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. Man, college basketball this past weekend was incredible. 11 ranked teams got beat. The Big 12 was no different. 3 teams, ranked teams lost. Some really compelling basketball over the weekend. The Big 12 is right where we thought it would be, people. Crazy, competitive, but for the most part, some pretty high-level basketball in some cases. We'll get to that Texas Tech-Houston game. That game was absolutely incredible, just like we all thought it would be. So appreciate everybody being in here, as always. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in that comment section. As always, hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content is coming out. So first, before we cover what happened this weekend, Monday, Big Monday, Iowa State going to Lawrence, one of the bigger games in the Big 12 this season. Both teams coming off of losses. We'll get and break down exactly what happened to each of those teams on Saturday. One, I think was a surprise, actually, for both of them, but we'll get into that. But a huge game in Lawrence tonight. You guys tune into that. If you're not and don't have plans to, make sure you tune in. Big game in the Big 12 on Big Monday. But let's break down what happened this weekend. So first things first, Arizona goes to Arizona State. They win 81-72. You guys got in the comments section and educated me. Again, like I said, I didn't think it was that big of a rivalry, but fans educated me a little bit on it. Now, watching the game, I'll say this. The atmosphere was pretty good. It was pretty good. Now, I will say this, just, again, listening through the television, there seemed to be a lot of Arizona fans in the stands there. And maybe that's always the case. I'll be honest. I'm not a big Arizona State. I haven't watched those games, in the Pac-12. That wasn't one of the games that I ever used to watch. I would watch Arizona play UCLA, Oregon, things that I just didn't watch this game. So maybe that's the norm. And if it is, I apologize, but I'm brand new to this rivalry, or if you want to call it that. Look, this is what I will say about the game. First of all, Arizona State needed the game. I mean, their resume in bracketology, it's slipping, to say the least. It's slipping. They needed this game. They needed another quad one win. Arizona came in, took care of business. Caleb Love did his thing. But look, the headbutting, BJ Freeman headbutting Caleb Love. First of all, I don't know how Caleb Love got ejected from the game. I'll say that. Trash talking on both sides. It was going on back and forth. The refs didn't take control of it. So when you don't take control of it, it can get out of hand. But for you to lose control and then to headbutt somebody because you're getting beat, I mean, come on, man. You just can't. You be more mature than that. Deal with it. But I'll say this. I don't blame BJ Freeman. He's just taking his cues from his head coach. Bobby Hurley's a disaster. He's a disaster. I don't want to hear it. I'm not, I've questioned him before, and maybe some of you, oh, Big B, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm over Bobby Hurley. I am. Great college basketball player. Too bad he got hurt because I think he could have maybe done something in the pros. But as far as a college basketball coach at Arizona State, I don't want to hear it anymore. Look, first off, you're telling me that another team didn't have class when both teams were talking back and forth. You're mad and saying they don't have class because they beat you. Stop it. Then you basically come out and say that you're not going to vote for Caleb Love, because you have a vote on all league. I mean, what is that about, man? I mean, are we really that petty? Because you're feeling the heat, because you have underachieved, and now you have to try to take it out on this kid because he was talking trash to your players because they were beating you. I don't know. Call me what you want. Say whatever you want. I'll deal with it. But the bottom line is I am over Bobby Hurley. I didn't think he was that good of a coach to begin with. This just sends me right over the edge. Now you're not voting for kids because they're talking trash or they bait your kid into headbutting them. I mean, give me a break, man. Just get out of here. But Arizona's the better team. Arizona State, I wish you had a better coach. That's all I would say. I wish for your fans, alumni, players, I wish you had a better coach. I apologize. It is what it is. Next up, Baylor. Holy mackerel. Baylor comes back. They're down 21, 19 at the half. KU conceivably has it rolling, and Baylor comes all the way back. Now, here's the thing. Baylor comes back. They didn't have VJ Edgecombe. He got hurt. He only played 25 minutes. He doesn't play. Jeremy Roach doesn't play in this game. They outscored Kansas 60-30 in the second half, which is insane. But, I mean, I think, look, Baylor lost a tough game. I thought they had kind of got it back on track, and then they go to BYU and lose, and people, well, but BYU is better than what people are saying. BYU's got it going. That's not a bad loss, losing in overtime the way that they did. And to be able to come back with conceivably maybe your best players not even playing, that says something about Baylor, their coach. You talk about coaching, Scott Drew. But as much credit as I want to give to Baylor, and I do, Bill Self, come on, man. And look, Kansas fans, tell me if I'm wrong, but why can't he just give Badunga KJ Adams minutes? Like, what is the point? What are you doing at this point? And for then him to come out and say, well, Badunga wasn't scoring. Well, he only took one shot. Maybe you didn't give it an opportunity. I don't think there should be conceivably a game where Adams gets 30 minutes and Badunga gets 16 or 15, whatever it was. I don't think that. I just whatever. I'm just trying to figure it out. I really am. I know Bill Self's loyal, but he's going to be loyal to a fault because KU's going to end up in another, first weekend exit in the tournament. I just don't understand it. I thought that they had fixed it. I thought, hey, you're starting Badunga. He's going to get the majority of the minutes. Nope. Went right back to it, and you're right back to losing. I just do not understand it, people. I really don't. But give all the credit to Baylor. They came back. They didn't quit. They could have quit. They didn't. A big win. They won 3 of 4. And the one loss, again, at BYU, not a bad loss. Baylor might have this thing turned around. Good for them. Oklahoma State beats Utah. I thought Utah had a fading chance of making the tournament, but you had to win this game. You didn't. Oklahoma State, they took control midway through the second half and were never threatened. I thought Utah needed this win, but it's a good win for Oklahoma State. They've struggled this season, but it's a rebuilding program, and this is a good win because Utah's not a bad basketball team. They're not. They're not a tournament team, but they're not a bad basketball team. It's a good home court win for Oklahoma State. TCU beats Colorado. TCU so inconsistent, but they get a win. Colorado just can't buy a win. Just not a great basketball team at this point in time. I do like Tad Boyle. I think he will get this thing turned around. You lose the kind of talent that they lost to the NBA and the transfer portal. It's tough, but I think they'll be back. TCU, they kind of coasted in this game. They were up 7 and never really got threatened. They're just a better basketball team at this point. And Colorado's confidence is, I'm assuming, is probably shot just by looking at some of the game. Their confidence is shot. Moving on, West Virginia. I thought this was a huge game for both teams. I've been begging Cincinnati to get it going. I give up. I give. Call Uncle. I'm screaming Uncle. I give up on the Bearcats. You can't get it done at home. I'm not saying West Virginia's a bad team because they're not. They're a good team. You guys know how I feel about them. But I thought Cincinnati, you know what? You're at home. Let's make a stand. We got to get this thing turned around. We're better than what our record has shown. Well, the old saying is you are what your record says you are. Cincinnati is what their record is. I'm done. I'm out. I can't keep making excuses for them. And so I won't. You guys know that I don't like making excuses to begin with. I won't. West Virginia goes on the road. Look, Cincinnati, 31% at home. That's all you can shoot. 31% at home. Now, I should have taken my cues when you had that pathetic shooting display and when Kansas came to town. But I'm thinking maybe, it's Kansas, yada, yada, yada. Nope. You still can't shoot it. You're not going to beat anybody. when you're shooting 31% at home. Give credit to West Virginia for forcing you into that. And West Virginia for getting off the snide because they had lost, 4 in a row? So good for West Virginia. Good for West Virginia. They needed this win. They needed this win. They got it. Tough road win. They can get back in the swing of things. BYU. Very impressive win at UCF. Very impressive. I thought, look, UCF they were the last team in the tournament. I still think they can make the tournament. But BYU was on the outside looking in. I think this puts them in. Now, there's still a ton left to do for everybody. But for these two, you still got a lot of work to do to solidify yourself. But BYU is a team that, okay, yeah, they're not just skating into the tournament at this point. They're in. They're solidly in this thing, in my opinion. And we'll see how bracketology turns out because it's time to start bubble watching. It really is. It's time to start doing it. It was a good game. Back and forth by both teams. BYU made the plays at the end to win. You know, they really did. And that's a sign of a good team. It's not that you're making the plays to win. You're doing it also on the road to win. You know, that's the sign of a really good basketball team. Now, the one thing about UCF, they lost 4 or 5, and you're thinking, hey, they were in the tournament. Now you look up, yeah, they've lost 4 or 5, but it's to the upper echelon of the conference. You know, Kansas, Houston, BYU, you know, that's who they've lost these games to, with the exception the one win was against TCU. So they got to get back. You look at their schedule. It's a little dicey here coming up the next 3 games, and then it loosens up a little bit or perceives to loosen up a little bit. So the UCF still got a lot of work to do to get into the tournament, but they're there. They're right there. But again, great win. Not good. Great win for BYU on the road. So in the upset of the weekend, I didn't see this one coming. I literally did not see this one coming. Kansas State goes to Ames and physically beats up Iowa State. Now, I know there's going to be some Iowa State fans that get mad at me for saying that, but it's the truth. You watched the basketball game. You couldn't keep dribblers in front of you. Kansas State, I'll admit, they shot the lights out. 50% from 3. They were 10 for 20. I get it. But they also out-rebounded you by 10. And that's not something that you would say a Kansas State is going to go to Ames and do. But they did. And that's the part where I say they physically manhandled you because rebounding, as we all know, is effort. Kansas State had it. Iowa State didn't. Good for Kansas State. Like I said, I didn't see this one coming, but Kansas State is playing like a totally different team. It seems to me like they're starting to play like the team maybe people thought they were going to play like early in the season. They've lost 6 straight. Now they've won 3 straight. This is easily the biggest win that they've had on the season, maybe in the last 2 seasons, the biggest win that they've had. Give them credit. You know, Iowa State is a good team. And again, I still like Iowa State. They've lost 2 in a row. I still like Iowa State, but you know, this is life in the Big 12, man. A team can come up and bite you. A team that's talented, maybe struggling. If you're not on your game, they can come up and bite you. And that seems to be what happened to Iowa State. Maybe some leftover from last week, the game that they let it get away at Arizona. I know Arizona fans are going to be mad, but come on, man. You made a 65-foot shot to send the game into overtime. And if Iowa State makes a free throw, the game's over. But they didn't. They didn't. So, you know, you can only deal with what you can deal with. So I get it. But Iowa State let that get away. Maybe there was some effects, let's just say, some lingering effects from that basketball game. But give credit to Kansas State, man. They came in. They did what they wanted to do. They shot the ball extremely well, and they won the basketball game. Got to give them credit. That was to me, it was the upset of the entire weekend in college basketball, Kansas State going to Ames. And not just winning, just blowing Iowa State out. That's what's so surprising. You know, any team could come up and bite you, but to blow them out like that, it was real surprising. But good for Kansas State. It's a great win. Maybe this gets them on track. Who knows? And then the game of the weekend, Texas Tech goes to Houston. They match Houston's physicality. They only got out-rebounded by 1. They shot the ball pretty well. They have to play basically the entire basketball game without their leading scorer, JT Toppin, who gets kicked out 4 minutes into the game in what I would say one of the most ridiculous calls that I've seen in a long time. I understand it. Maybe it looked bad, but if you want to call a foul, okay. If you even want to call a flagrant, okay. But to kick the kid out, come on, man. I just didn't see that at all. Not at all. And I'm a guy that will side with people doing dumb stuff. When kids do dumb stuff on the court or the field, I'm the first person to call it out. I don't think this is what that was. But either way, Tech, they go on, they win in overtime, man. Look, I told you all that Tech was going to be there at the end. People told me I was crazy. I told you that Tech had something to prove. That they said that last year, the way last year ended, that left a sour taste in their mouth. And I know they've got transfers coming in. But the culture that was created, and they understand, you're coming in here, hey, man, the way we went out last year in the NCAA tournament, that's why we brought you here, because we don't want that to happen again. We're a tougher team than what we were a year ago. We're a better team than what we were a year ago. And this goes a long way to prove it. Tech earned a lot of respect with that win at Houston. A lot of respect. I respected them, maybe not to that extent because I didn't think they'd go there and win, but damn it, give them credit. They fought. And that's the thing with Houston. I'm not saying you can beat them even if you fight them and match their physicality, but you have no chance if you don't. Tech did. They matched it. Even when Houston tried to get away late in regulation, Tech was like, nope, you're not going to get away from us. We're going to be right here. We're going to fight you to the end, to the very end. All of a sudden, Houston misses a free throw, which again, Houston, come on, man, you miss 9 free throws, shoot 66% from home at home. You're going to lose when you do that, when you play good competition. That's what happened. Darian Williams makes a 3, ties the game with 30 seconds. You go into overtime, and Tech was the better team. They made the clutch plays. They made the tough plays that you expect out of Houston. And I'm not saying Houston didn't make them. Tech just made more. They made more. They won the game. Houston didn't give it to them. They won the game, and you got to give Tech credit for that. Like I mentioned, I like this Tech team. There's some people that, they're going to fall back, and maybe they will. I just don't believe that. I haven't said that all year. I've been giving them their credit all year because I believe they're different. And this game goes a long way. Still really like Houston. Let's make no mistake. I'm not saying Houston is just some has-been. I still really like them. I just like Tech as well. I think Tech belongs in the upper echelon of teams in college basketball. And maybe this win at Houston will give people, hey, you know what? Tech actually is a really good basketball team. We got to start paying more attention to those guys out in Lubbock, Texas. So give them credit, man, where credit is due. To sum all this up, great weekend for the Big 12. I know that a lot of times when you look at it, that maybe when ranked teams get upset, maybe it looks bad for the conference. In these cases, I don't think that it does. Again, Tech beating a Houston, that's not going to look bad on the conference, okay? Kansas State beating Iowa State. Kansas State's not very good, but I don't think it looks bad on the conference, I believe that Kansas State's better than maybe what they had played, and they're starting to play up to the potential of that. But I think it was a good weekend overall for the Big 12. Great weekend, to be quite honest with you. It's not a case of cannibalism. I know that's what some people are going to call it. Well, they're just starting to cannibalize each other. No, they're not, man. They're just playing good basketball. And we got really good basketball teams in this conference, and this is what happens. There's no laydowns. No laydowns. When you think there's a laydown, that's when you get beat. And that seemed to be what happened this weekend. Teams just playing good basketball. I love it. Can't wait to see this game on Monday night. Iowa State at KU. Will Bill Self end the loyalty and just do what's right? Here's my thing on that. And I'll get off this point because I know KU fans can't stand it. But Bill Self being loyal, I don't understand it. But he owes it to the players, the alumni, the fans, and to himself to just say, you know what? I get it. Just have the meeting. I'm sorry, KJ. Padunga's better. He's got to play more minutes than you. I'm not saying that's their only problem, though. I don't want to just act like that's the only problem. But that's a start. Just getting the best players out on the court for the majority of minutes. That's all I'm going to say. At some point, it's got to be that. If you're not going to do that, then you're doing a disservice to everybody that supports the Kansas program. Iowa State lost 2 in a row. That's college basketball, man. First of all, you can't win them all. That's never going to happen ever again. And you're going to go, it's conference play. You play in a really good conference. You're going to lose. That's just what happens. You're going to lose some games. I get it. So hopefully they get back off the snide. Hopefully Kansas plays its best players, and then we get a really, really good basketball game in Lawrence tonight. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you again for the support you guys have given me. The algorithm for YouTube is starting to pick up with college basketball. It took a minute for them to get over there. I understand, but we're starting to pick up. So I really do appreciate you guys, man. Hang with us. A lot of basketball stuff still going on. I love it. I'm going to keep talking about it. I appreciate you guys. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.